The city of Seven Hills is where we have Lynchburg women's lacrosse right back in town on Schellenberger Field. They found success this year. They're welcoming in an EMU Royals squad, 1-6 on the season, but looking to turn the tides and maybe just have some conference success. This is the second ever meeting between these two teams, and we're super glad you are joining us on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Evan Gates alongside my good friend Sam Graham. And Sam, we have seen Lynchburg really build momentum these last couple of games, continuing to just score goals at a really high rate, building confidence along the way.
It's been a pleasure to watch for a team that did struggle to score at times last year. Did wind up averaging right at 11 goals a game, well, they're 14 goals a game, 3 clips higher coming into this point. We're right about that 50% mark on the year, so that's where you really start to see where you can really make some comparisons. This time last year, Evan, Lynchburg was 2-6, just trying to find their legs. They did pick up a little bit down the stretch, finished 5-4, did get into the ODAC tournament and had some nice wins. But when you're sitting here at 5-3 at this midway point, I think you feel a lot better about the trajectory of this season. I think this is a team that really feels like they can do some damage within the conference.
Well, still so much youth. You could say it's a youth movement for Lynchburg with the sophomores that have come to play. Don't forget some of the freshmen, too. Maya Hauser, in particular, has been one of those who has shown up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pregame stats. And this is an EMU squad that has just 13 players on the roster. And so, obviously, one bench player. The rest will be on the field the majority of this game. But for Lynchburg, this is a squad with a deep bench, and it shows in the numbers. They've constantly had someone scoring. You know that they're just going to try to stay ready. You think about the number of contributors they've had with Sydney Dumas leading the way.
Yeah, I mean, depth is going to be a huge piece of this game, Evan. You talk about on the one side a team that's going to have 13 active players today. Only 7 of them have scored a goal this year, just one goalkeeper on the active roster today. Lynchburg on the other side has 2 to 3 goalkeepers they feel really good about. And on the offensive side, you want to talk about a big trio, those 3 sophomores that Lynchburg's going to put out there, Sydney Dumas, McKenna Steinout, and Neely Morris, fresh off an 8-goal game on this turf. That's obviously going to lead the way, but Lynchburg is deep past that too. Just a whole lot of names down this roster on the offensive side that can score and score a lot.
Absolutely, and as you see in the statistical categories, the turnovers is going to be the one to watch. EMU, 24 a game. Lynchburg has been really good this season, just under 14, and for a squad that is still trying to really find a new look, consider the fact that Coach Rafferty is in her first season. You like to see that disciplined style, try to really sharpen things down the stretch, but we know EMU has really just been ambushed. The number of shot attempts they allow, you have to think that the draw control and possession stats are going to be big ones to watch.
Absolutely, and you mentioned Coach Rafferty in her first season at the helm of this program. Micah Slacum, though, is in her second. She was the defensive player for this Lynchburg team herself, and I think in year 2 of her being with this program, some consistency between coaches, but also I think we've seen a lot of improvement in this Lynchburg defense. Gave up 11 goals a game last year. They're down to 9 this year. Last year forcing about 8 caused turnovers a game. This year, darn near 11. So this defense has been a lot of fun to watch. Meredith Bornholt and Kaylin Satterfield anchor it, a couple of upperclassmen. That's going to be a tough matchup for a team in EMU that averages 24 turnovers a game, going against a Lynchburg team that forces about 11, and then that's not, accounting for all those unforced errors that any team is going to have. So I think prizing the possession, we'll get to the grand plan here in a moment, but that's certainly going to be probably number 1 for the visiting Royals.
Well, and there's so many different things at this stage of the season you can look to. Correlation doesn't equal causation. You think about the amount of things that are going to happen from a number standpoint, but Sam, as you're about to point out with some of our goals for this game, it really just comes down to staying true to your playing style and really trusting your foundation.
Absolutely. Well, we look at the grand plan today. For an EMU team that does have 2 primary scorers, those so far this year have been Amber Bonds and Courtney Crawford. Courtney Crawford got out to a great start to the year. She's cooled off a little bit, and I think that's a direct correlation to the 6-game skid for this Royals team. So while you do want to get her involved, sharing is caring. This team is better when they're able to work the ball around. For a Lynchburg team that can be pretty successful in isolation and when those assist numbers are up, I think for EMU, the key number first and foremost is getting more people involved. And then second, taking care of the ball. We just talked about that. Prize the rock, prize the possessions. You might not get a ton. Lynchburg's good on stopping teams on the clear. They're good at turning you over. For the EMU team, I think if they can clean that up, we could have a pretty competitive game, but you got to make the most of those possessions and get as many as you can. For Lynchburg, we're going to stick on the same theme from an assist perspective. You got to phone a friend. Lynchburg in these last 2 games has seen 11 assists apiece in 2 big 13-point blowout wins. That'd be great to keep going, get a big win here tonight, and then finally get back to the arc. Lynchburg team last year that was really good on the free position, just hasn't gotten there at a super high rate early on this season. So I think if they can get back there and then capitalize on those opportunities, that'll be another sort of facet that you can unlock to this offense.
So much fun on the platter for tonight's 7 o'clock matchup, EMU Lynchburg on the other side from Schellenberger Field.
My name is Davion Washington Jr. I have the honor of serving as the student body president. I have 5 little siblings. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, and they look up to me. I'm setting the tone. I get to develop myself, make myself a better individual, but also I'm helping future generations, not even my family, but just future generations in general. I found my passion here. I found, the love for what I want to do. I just really had an amazing time here. It's changed, my outlook on life. You don't have to be famous to change lives. You don't have to be on the big screen or whatever. I change lives now, and I hope to continue to do that. Just same way that the University of Lynchburg has changed my life for the better.
Welcome back here at Schellenberger Field. So excited that you are joining us. Evan Gates, Sam Graham. We just went through our pregame, and as these teams get ready to go into action, we are going to look at some of our players to watch. It is always crucial at this stage of the season, just with the amount of faces around on a roster. And you see right there, Neely Morris. She has been absolutely fantastic. You certainly have to remember that 8-goal affair right here on Schellenberger Field against Bridgewater. It was really a coming out party, but it's hard to restrict her play just to that game because she gets it done all over the stat sheet.
Yeah, draw control is a big part of her game. Arguably, yes, the goal scoring is way up. She's improved all around the field, but I think what she's done at the draw this year has probably been the most impressive jump. She leads the team, leads it by a wide margin. Tori King still on this team. Peyton Seville still on this team. Those were 2 of Lynchburg's very best last year. I mean, Tori King nearing 150 for her career. So I think what Neely's been able to do at midfield has been huge for this team.
Absolutely, and Amber Bonds, as you see on your screen, 22 ground balls, 11 cost turnovers. She is just one of those on this team where you see 2 main contributors from a stat standpoint, and she would be one of those 2 along with Courtney Crawford, but she really just enables her teammates to get it done. And again, kind of like Neely Morris, getting everything done, just trying to keep her team in these games.
Yeah, and in that Ferrum game over the weekend, 4 goals, 4 ground balls, 3 caused turnovers, 5 draw controls. You want to talk about stuffing the stat sheet, you're not going to find a more complete stat line than what Amber Bonds did. She's led this team at the draw virtually every game. You talk about a FOGO position in the men's game. You don't see that as much in the women's game. Draw controls are generally split by 3 to 4 different players. On this team, Amber Bonds is going to take most of them. She's going to collect a lot, and I think obviously this game is going to start at midfield at the draw. I think that is right at the soul, the heart and soul of this game.
So much to consider as we get ready to go to the draw circle. Let's go ahead and meet our starters. EMU out there with Bonds and Crawford up front. Polizzi, Hines, Detter, Sims, Parker, Bolell, Davis, Todd, Clark, and Narciso in goal. That is the Royal squad. And then for Lynchburg, that always familiar squad led by Sydney Dumas up front. They have Carson Quigley, Jade Mayer, Megan Wheeler, McKenna Steinau, Kaylin Satterfield, Meredith Bornholt, Peyton Seville, Emma Timberg, Tori King, Neely Morris, and Corinne West. And goal up and away we go. EMU looking to corral early. They will do so. They are in the road blacks going right to left on your screen. And it's a game where early you just have to gather momentum. But Lynchburg's Peyton Seville already off and running.
Cause turnover number 1 here for Lynchburg and a fast break opportunity, 3-on-2 break. Seville's going to pull out of it.
Just want to have some patience. If you're Coach Rafferty, this is a game where you look at the stats and you understand there's potential for a very heavy onslaught of goals, but you do know you want to get it done the right way. Lots of strong passing. That's something that Lynchburg has done well, just getting the assist up. They have 5.5 a game, as of right now. Wrap around the goal. There is the opening one as Lynchburg makes it look clinical. Number 31, McKenna Steinow, puts one in the back of the net. Opening minute, make it 1-0 Hornets.
And McKenna Steinow, she hit 50 career points over the weekend against Randolph. She's now up to 52, opens the scoring on today's game. And Evan, I really just want to point out first and foremost, Amber Bonds was our player to watch, right? We go down to the draw circle. She wins the draw for EMU, and then they immediately get hit with a turnover. That's a backbreaker right out of the jump. We know if Lynchburg can set up in that, in their attacking third, they're probably going to be able to score. So when you talk about prizing those possessions, that's just a tough way to start the game.
Obviously, you do want to have those draw controls, but it's sometimes the few seconds after trying to get your teammates involved. Steinow, 5'8" sophomore from Annapolis, Maryland. Very solid season so far. 4 goals in that home opener versus Southern Virginia, and has continued to perform. 16 goals, now 17 on the season. As we meet in the middle, again, goes straight up. Tori King uses her size to get the draw. Lynchburg has it again. So many different candidates for Lynchburg that you can look at to inject some pace into this offense. A lot of different goal scorers, even when Sydney Dumas, who has scored in all but 2 games as a Hornet, isn't fully functioning. She has been red hot so far.
Evan, I mentioned an emerging trio for this Lynchburg team, a trio of sophomores. Steinow is one of them, Neely Morris, Sydney Dumas, the other 2. Those 3 account for 10 points per game. And hey, Reagan Bradley's a junior, but she's seen the scoring increase a little bit as well.
Bradley makes it look clinical for goal number 10 on the season. Slots at home. That's that high-quality stuff as Lynchburg puts up 2 already, continuing to just keep the possession, keep the vibes high. That's something in a game like this, a 3-game stretch where Lynchburg has not lost a game in series history. And so you look to keep that going today, but obviously I think for Coach Rafferty and the staff, it's just about setting the table for the games to come.
Yeah, and on that last Bradley goal, you want to talk about improvement. We opened the broadcast with it, a team that at this point last year was 2-6, finished 7-10 on the year. Set up right now at 5-3. They've set themselves up, well, in keeping with that, constantly improving nature of this team now under a new head coach and Coach Rafferty. Reagan Bradley, somebody who comes to mind before this year. 1 goal, 1 ground ball, 5 draw controls. Those were her career stats through her first 2 years here. Didn't play her freshman year, missed it with injury. Well, this year, 10 goals, 4 assists, 14 points there, 4 ground balls, and 9 draw controls. And we're just only about halfway through this campaign. So shout out to Reagan Bradley, one of these players that's bought in and really, you kind of seen the fruits of that labor coming here in her second, I should say, full season in the Hill City.
She's one of the 6 on this team who had not started a game coming into this year, who has recorded a start this season. As Morris in and out of traffic, out to Seville. Start the rotations. You see the cuts. Timing on display. There you go. There's number 3, Neely Morris, knots it in. And a trio for Lynchburg in the opening few minutes. Neely Morris picking up right where she left off.
8 goals the last time we saw her on this field. That was an effort against Bridgewater. 10 points in total. She had a pair of assists as well. That was good for a tie at second all-time in a single game, I should say, in program history. So not something that you see every day. We were, running out of adjectives. Had to turn to the thesaurus to describe that game for Neely Morris just about a week ago, and a hot start to tonight's affair.
Oddly enough, and you don't want to put too much stock into this, don't believe she had a goal in that last game versus Randolph, but there were several others who did. 7 players with 3 points or more, and that 17-4 victory. That's what you love to see if you're a coaching staff, having everybody engaged, especially before you hit the heart of conference play.
Well, Neely Morris was, to say she was active in that last game against Bridgewater be an understatement. So I don't know if it was a little nagging issue that kept her out, or if it was just, coaching staff wanting to give her a little time to rest and recharge. Cross town at Randolph, it's a deep offense. You can afford to do that every once in a while if you have to. But she's back out here tonight, and that's certainly a good sight for this Lynchburg team.
EMU really with their first elongated possession of the game. We'll see what they can do. This is a team that has had a little bit of an up and down season so far. Won the first, proceeded to drop the next 6, but this is a squad that under Coach Michaela Brooks is still just trying to find some growth. They obviously only have 13 on the roster this year. Lynchburg Seville will bounce it in. There's number 4. The Hornets looking like a well-oiled machine. Transition has been something that has treated them kindly early in this campaign.
Lynchburg's 3-1 at home this season. They've been winning, and they've been winning big. They don't want to see that stop. Hot start to this game, 4 goals in the first 2:59 of play. This has been a phenomenal start. Pretty much exactly what you would want to draw up if you could. We've seen 2 cause turnovers, maybe make it 3 already for this Lynchburg team. And just EMU just having a lot of trouble setting anything up at all. They won that opening draw. They've lost every one since and only really had 1 crack at an actual possession. So it's going to start probably on defense for EMU, but, you know, back to the draw circle. Got to try to get those little victories.
The great thing about lacrosse is you always reset in the middle. You always have a chance to try and regain momentum, but sometimes can get downhill very quickly. Speaking of momentum, Lynchburg, a team that is 5-0 when leading after the first half, 0-3 when trailing. That is still a pretty small sample size, but we are getting to the heart of the season, so start paying attention to that. Not many close contests for Lynchburg in either direction, so you're hoping that when those games come along, especially knowing the ODAC slate, that you're just prepared mentally to stay in some of those barn burners down the stretch.
It's the Lynchburg team. They play with a lot of heart, play with a little bit of aggression as well. It's about finding a healthy mix between the two. It's really not going to matter the score. It's a Lynchburg team that's going to press you. They want to make you uncomfortable. Those cause turnover numbers don't happen by accident. This possession created by Sydney Dumas just berating her opponent on the defensive end, turning EMU over and setting up this possession for Lynchburg.
Well, you see a lot of these moves, too, where Lynchburg just gets the first few steps. Here it is. Dumas inside, somehow weaves in and out. Acrobatic. She will just hold on to it. Let the offense develop. That's a smart decision from the sophomore. Here's Morris in and out. This one saved, and now moving to the side of the field as Kerner will corral.
First miss of the day for this Lynchburg team. See if that can put a little more air in the lungs of the goalkeeper for this EMU team. Crystal Narciso, only one on the roster, and she's had some good games, 14 saves against WNL. That was a losing effort. She stood in there and took it as long as she could, but problem is just how many shots she is facing on a nightly basis.
Just about 33 per game, as there's another shot that will hit the piping. This is a game where you can't get on too many long-winded tangents because Lynchburg will make you pay. They made a lot of opponents pay throughout this season, and you see that cutting. They also have the isolation offense to do it, as this one will be called. Looks like a free position shot is on the way. Neely Morris will have the ball in her stick.
And listen, Evie, you'd be hard-pressed to find a team that's not better when they're working the ball around, but like you said, Lynchburg's got some factors in isolation as well.
Might have an isolation opportunity here. Morris goes down, bounces. Did it go across the line? No. Good save by Narciso. Talked about averaging just about 33 shots faced per game. She's faced 233 coming into this contest, but you just want leadership in goal, and so the junior from Valverde, California, just trying to really be the head of this defense and trust who's in front of her. It has obviously been a task where EMU has had their ups and downs, but always a time in the ODAC schedule to regroup.
That was a big-time save. Good goalies are able to save a couple of the ones you don't count on them to, and a couple got by her early, maybe some ones she wished that she had back, but a little bit of confidence, 2 saves now.
There's Chastity Kerner, makes it look easy, slots it home in the left, and goal number 5 for Lynchburg. Number 9 in white gets it done, the second goal this season, and really just continuing to elevate one of those players who has found an extended role in this 24 campaign.
EMU takes a timeout. Evan, you hit the nail on the head. It starts with what's in front of the goalkeeper. Lynchburg's just getting in way too close. This defense has got to apply some pressure, got to find a way to stop that from happening.
Welcome to the Campus Recreational Department at the University of Lynchburg. We believe in a student-centered approach to recreation, making sure that all students have fun and engaging activities that promotes wellness, personal growth, and community building.
Our team works to provide a variety of recreation opportunities for all our undergrad and graduate students.
Let's take a look at the different areas of Campus Rec. Campus Recreation covers all outdoor recreation. Our team offers dozens of trips per semester, maintains recreation facilities on campus, and offers outdoor certificates and leadership training.
Intramurals is open to all students who wants to play on a team. We have men's, women's, and co-ed leagues for each sport we offer.
Those looking for next level competition can join club sports. These are student-led organizations with the support of Campus Recreation. You can join one of our established club sports, or you can start your own with our support.
Campus Recreation offers an excellent amount of opportunities to stay active, make new friends, and develop new skills. We hope to see you soon.
The early going is treating the Hornets well. They're up 5-0, 9:20 left in the first quarter against EMU. We talked a little bit about Mackenzie Rafferty, the first-year coach for Lynchburg. We should say first year with the Lynchburg program. She has been very solid in other programs, previous head coach at Florida Tech. But let's also talk about Michaela Brooks for EMU in her second season. Previous grad assistant and interim head coach at EMU, played at Bridgewater, a two-time All-ODAC candidate. And obviously, when you have a program like this, you're trying to build and construct things. The expectation early is just to be able to have progression. And I think what she is doing, now recruiting, they have 5 freshmen out of these 13 this season, trying to just be on an upwards progression.
Starts with recruiting and then obviously culture building. You know, that's first things first. I think one thing that's always cool to see is, with I think 2 exceptions, is a predominantly Virginia-based team. I think that's always cool because you're going to get in a lot of recruits that may have played against each other before. They might know each other, have some of those prior relationships. And even if they don't, you at least don't have that barrier in communication. I think when you're first starting a team, it's really cool to have a lot of people from the same geographical area, as silly as that might seem. But I think it's just a little easier to create those bonds. You know, this is a team that obviously, like you said, it's really early on. You're just trying to build year by year, even game by game. So it's getting those little victories, you know, stealing some wins where you can, and just making the most of every time out.
Everything suddenly starts to matter because as the years go by, the fans and everybody involved has that expectation of trying to reach a new level of success. We will see what the Royals can do. As you saw, Sydney Dumas hit the penalty box with a green card. So now Royals have a chance with numbers, but this pass finds its way through. Lynchburg will take over. 8:44 in this first quarter.
If you're looking for an opportunity to kind of inject yourself right back in this game, obviously an onslaught, 5 goals in the first 5:40 of this game, that would have been the time to do it on the woman up, I should say, opportunity. It's the EMU team, 9 woman up goals, and a Lynchburg team that at times, as any team would, has struggled a little bit when they're a woman down. Just unable to take advantage there was EMU. They get it with another turnover. And you obviously see Sydney Dumas get sent to the penalty box. The Lynchburg team, like we said, you know, they play aggressive, they play hard. That's sort of a characteristic of a Mackenzie Rafferty team. The byproduct of that is you're going to get penalized a little bit, but you're also going to wreak a lot of havoc on your opponent.
Sometimes you would argue that having that contact early, really asserting your presence, is more important than getting goals or having numbers. And Sydney Dumas, after just going in, finishes through contact. Put the stick on the ground. Number 7, she is operating at a very high level.
And that might not be the end of the good news for Lynchburg. I thought I saw the official reach for his flag. We'll see. Maybe not. Because obviously if it's a releasable penalty, then the goal releases it. So it didn't look like much there. Just, you know, defensive player trying to, you know, maintain their position, apply a little bit of pressure to Dumas. That's what you want to do. Dumas is just a really good lacrosse player, and there's not much he can do.
Sydney Dumas, 9 points from 100. Now it's going to be 8, and that is a stat that is not easy to hit, especially in your sophomore campaign. I mean, you got to think about the rate at which she has contributed. We know that last season was one of those years where you had a good mix of veterans and freshmen, everybody just trying to find their role. Well, this year you can tell Lynchburg's attack is seasoned and ready to go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Evan. And I think it's easy to look at a lot of these contributors for Lynchburg and see sophomore, sophomore, sophomore. But the good point of that is that last year, as freshmen, they played all the time. You go down, you look at the all-time list. I mean, this is the 26th career game, 25th career start already for Sydney Dumas. You know, McKenna Steinhaus started nearly every game last year. Neely Morris maybe didn't start every game, but played a lot last year. So even though they're only in their second year in the program, they know what this school, they know what this team is about. They understand the culture. They're creating the culture, and they have a lot of games under their legs.
No pressure there, right? Trying to build a culture. They're doing pretty good. They're 5-3 this season, looking to improve. As this pass gets through to Dumas, we saw on the other end Crawford trying to connect to the middle, unable to do so. And now Lynchburg once again in this familiar spot, just working it around. Who bites first?
EMU staying in that man. I would consider maybe a zone. You just try to block off that center of the field. That's where Lynchburg's, they're being patient. They're trying to run those actions to get players, open and available there to catch a pass and then be ready to shoot. So no really reason to go fast, but EMU might want to try to clog that lane up.
Here's a move in isolation. Bradley bounces it in. You made a really good point. You let them get downhill in isolation, they are not going to be stopped. You got to force a pass, force them outside. Reagan Bradley either way said, never mind that. She gets it done again. Second goal of the contest, 7 for Lynchburg here in the mid-first quarter.
I mean, the shots are just too easy and they're too hard to stop. These are not looks that are going to favor your goalkeeper. The work once again cut out for Crystal Narciso. Again, she's made 71 saves coming into this game. It's not that she can't do it. It's just when you see that high of the volume, just puts your goalkeeper in a really tough spot. And Lynchburg, every single time they've had an opportunity on offense, they've scored 7 of 10, 70% shooting, but 100% on the possessions they've created.
And obviously EMU right now not on the board in the shots category. That's something that will have to change. This is a team that when you look at this season, there's always narratives you're going to try to find, and it's so difficult. 10 combined assists in those first 2 games. We know they won the first game. Since, in the last 5, they have had just 5 assists. And so you can tell that, yes, you're playing some tough ODAC competition, but it really comes down to just trusting your passing. We've seen that with the turnovers narrative, that obviously if you turn the ball over, really tough to connect for goals.
Oh, I mean, it's huge. I don't think that's an accident at all that those first 2, those highest scoring outputs for this team also came when they were sharing the ball efficiently. They go 1-1 in that stretch, but 2 really close games. They just about pulled out that second one against Brevard. But yeah, I mean, trying to engage multiple players in the offense, excluding 1 game in which Courtney Crawford had 5 assists. No player has had more than 2 in a single game this year. I think it starts there. You got to get more than just Bonds and Crawford involved. Obviously, right now, you just want to get the offense on the field. But once you can do that, you move on to the next phase, and that's looking for some different options. Because Lynchburg defense is going to tee off on those top 2 players as any other team in this conference will. So who are those other options going to be?
We've talked a lot about Lynchburg's offense. Their defense is formidable as well. As you see, sticks up, pressure high. Seville went to the box, so EMU has numbers. Here's a chance going to the goal. Pass looking inside, gets past, and now it's just a race to the sideline. This one will go out. Lynchburg takes over, as you saw Carson Quigley giving chase.
How about Quigley doing a little bit of everything this year? She has spent some time in the goal this year. She's made 11 saves. She's also got a goal. You're not going to see many players in the conference that have both a goal and double-digit saves to their name. Carson Quigley has done that. Goalie situation that I think Coach Rafferty feels a lot better about now, though. Corinne West has started to really get her feet under her. She's 5-0 in her starts in the goal, and then you bring in Kayla Brady, who might be a little bit of a work in progress, but came in there, gave 2 saves, 50% save percentage when we saw her against Bridgewater. See if we see her any today. I think you're starting to feel a good bit better, and it allows Quigley to play in the field where her natural position is.
Absolutely, and even with Brady, when you get a player who is not really in their natural habitat, you're still going to get some moves that are very different, very new, as Dumas puts one home. There's goal number 8. You think about Kayla Brady this season, she is obviously coming in, not the highest amount of lacrosse knowledge, but she knows how to play in front of a goal. She knows how to make stops, and when you see that, that might even spread to someone like Wes, who is very knowledgeable in lacrosse. But can go either way. That's just the game of sports.
And Kayla Brady knows how to win. Obviously, a field hockey program, one of the most storied in the country. Enza Steele, of course, retired after this past season. One of the most successful coaches in NCAA athletics, just across the board. You're not going to find many people that have 900 wins to their name. Coach Steele has that. And Kayla Brady was the starter in goal for that team for 3 years. She has won ODAC championships. So if nothing else, she's going to bring that level of toughness and that level of intensity that I think any team would be happy to have. And yeah, like you said, a byproduct of that, I think we're seeing the best lacrosse of the year for Corinne West. You know, healthy competition is always a good thing. I think it's going to bring out the best in both of these players.
The question for Lynchburg is really, what does that culture look like? You bring somebody new in middle of the season, you don't always have that, and we're not saying that they won't be welcoming. I think Kayla Brady has really found her spot on this team, but anytime you have a little wrinkle, it just takes a little bit to really get your legs under you. But Kayla Brady has looked good so far. The Hornets are still humming up 8-0. EMU trying to crack the scoreboard. There's that pass from Bonds. We've seen Bonds and Crawford have the ball a decent amount of times, but and it's just not stayed with EMU for long enough. Here's Lynchburg going the other way.
Well, and it might be keep away from Meredith Bornholt. She's got 2 caused turnovers already, several ground balls, and that's her strength. She can do that against everybody. So it might just be trying to avoid her, you know, maybe modify the game plan once we get out of this first quarter. Say stay away from 24 and White. She's been a menace, but problem is you go to the other side of the field, you got to deal with Kaylin Satterfield.
It's about as tough of a 1-2 punch as you are going to get. Satterfield and Bornholt very solid, the pair of upperclassmen. Bradley now outside. Here's that rotation again, and it's really tough to even describe because Lynchburg doesn't throw a whole lot of different looks. They do have these set pieces, but it's really just variations down the middle. Bradley breaks home for a hat trick. It's the first one we have seen from Lynchburg today, and expect with the amount of scores getting it done, we might have a few as Reagan Bradley keeps it rolling.
It is the first hat trick of Reagan Bradley's career, the junior from Ocean Pines, Maryland. We mentioned earlier what a season she has had. I don't want to call it a turnaround. I just want to say, you know, how impressive it's been. You missed that first year, and sometimes that freshman year can be the critical year, right? You know, getting involved in the program, you're finding your footing. Obviously, you know, I'm sure she still got acclimated off the field, but trying to find where you fit into the offense on the field. Reagan Bradley's finding it here in year 3 in the program, and she's just thriving. So first hat trick for her. She has got this offense up and running.
No problems for number 4. Lynchburg loving life right now. We'll see if they can keep it going. As you see a good look at the Westover dorms. The weather has been all over the place, and we say it is March. I don't want to just override that story, but it has been decent enough to play lacrosse today, and obviously on the turf field you don't have any problems with the grass. Hornets are moving forward once again. Jenna Norco has some space. She will just hold off. Lynchburg going to take their time.
And I tell you what, Evan, this women's lacrosse team has not won the lottery when it comes to the weather that has been thrown at them this year. I mean, it builds character, right? You know, you never know what you're going to get really anywhere down here, mid-Atlantic region. Steinau had on another one.
Wow, that was a very nice looking move. Just gets into that position right in the middle, fires it home, and slipping and sliding. Lynchburg's got 10. Doesn't matter what the conditions are, Steinau is going to deliver. 13 shots for the Hornets. They have converted on 10 of them. And in the first quarter, we are just seeing the rain, the R-E-I-G-N. We don't have too much R-A-I-N for all the English people out there. We are just enjoying it from Schellenberger Field. And what a way to get things started. We knew they would have confidence. We knew they would come out riding that momentum. But to put up a 10-piece in the first quarter is not an easy feat.
No, it's not. McKenna Steinau, the third double-digit, or I shouldn't say double-digit, multi-goal scorer here for this Lynchburg team. A team that's already seen 6 different goal scorers score, and we're still here in the first quarter. The running clock now in this first quarter. Lynchburg up 10-0. I mean, it's been blowouts only, right? Every single game for Lynchburg, except for that Meredith game, has been separated by 10 or more goals. They've won each of their last 2 by 13, and then that last loss they had against Messiah also by 13. So it's really just been all the extremes this year. which I guess from a broadcasting perspective doesn't always make it the most fun on our end. But no, it's been a lot of fun to watch all this lacrosse early on this year. Lynchburg is kind of finding itself in all kinds of different situations.
Well, it's nice when Lynchburg scored 16 or more in every win this season. The whistle blew before Dumas got the shot off. I think it's going to count. We'll see off the referee's signal. Yeah, cue the music. Sydney Dumas racks it up again. I believe that is a hat trick for number 7. She is just putting on a tear. She has had a season in which she has scored every single game. She went on a little bit of a dry spell. She had 3 games without a hat trick. That's kind of crazy, but she got it today.
It's a good problem to have, right? When that's a dry spell for a player. Last year, second team all-conference selection. She came into this game only 9 points away from 100. I know we're in the first quarter. We weren't sure if we'd see it today. Some of it might depend on how long she's out there. She's got 4 points already, though.
It's impressive stuff, and it's just one of those players where you can tell why the progression happens, because you do see a freshman in a large role. Sometimes you don't pay attention to the stats that are changing from one season to the next. She is continuing to elevate her game, and I think you can tell just the confidence she has in that isolation, because now you don't have the luxury of having all those attackers you did last year up front. We've talked about it all season. Dumas is just finding her role, really trusting that her teammates will find her.
Well, we'll throw one more number at you. Actually, we'll wait until the end of the Oh, McKenna Steinow coming down Main Street. See if that counts.
I think it was a tick after. Referee is waving it off, so that's just going to have to be for confidence. But McKenna Steinow, as close as you're going to get.
Take you this going into the break. Older sister of Sydney Dumas, Leah Dumas, played here. Sydney passed her for the Dumas lead in points over the weekend, and she's closing in on the Dumas household lead in goals. She needs 2 more. If Leah's watching this, watch out. Little sister's coming.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Through 15 minutes, Lynchburg's put up an 11-piece. They lead EMU 11-0 right here on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Evan Gates, Sam Graham taking you through it. We've had a different sport, it seems like, every single day. Last week we had a span, and obviously you're having a lot of spring sports, but it went women's lacrosse, and then track meet, and then softball and baseball, and it's just all bunching together. But we're having fun on Schellenberger Field.
Going to see a different look at midfield. Believe that's Courtney Crawford that's going to take this draw against Reagan Bradley. Mentioned Lynchburg's deep at the draw. Got a couple of different players they can throw at you. EMU, it's a little more tight-knit there. We'll see if Crawford can get things going at all. See if flipping the field can get things going a little bit for EMU.
Just a little push from Reagan Bradley. We will see. Yes, she will keep possession. So unable to do so was EMU. Now pass inside. Dumas somehow almost got her stick on it. And now patient attack. Lynchburg on the prowl again. Jenna Norco sits behind the goal. What a season she is having so far. 7 goals, 2 assists. And Lauren Fling fires at home. Pop the net, number 11. There's a good one, an easy one as Lauren looks comfortable right outside the crease, fires home.
Lynchburg just keeps it rolling, coming right out of the break, picking up where they left off. Give a shout out to McKenna Steinau. She gets the lost goal there, does Lauren Fling. McKenna trying to tack one on right before the break. Lauren Fling, 3rd goal of the year.
She was very solid against Randolph, 3 points in that affair. We mentioned 7 Hornets had 7 points, and we mentioned there wasn't supposed to be bad weather, at least too bad. We do have some rain, so that unfortunate set of circumstances is going to have to continue. There's a good look at it as Lynchburg back on the prowl. Pass inserted to Dumas all the time, over the top, and there you go. Top shelf material from Sydney Dumas. This one will get in, and 12 for Lynchburg.
Well, that goal will tie Leah. It's number 69 of Sydney Dumas's career. And we'll touch on this as well. Sydney Dumas really got that whole thing going. She pressures Narciso right out of the goal area, forces that errant pass. It's picked off by Bradley. Bradley relays right back to Dumas. And defense literally does turn into offense there. Dumas is able to capitalize to cap it off.
I love plays like that where it's the pass, the setup, that is really the emphatic thing you look at. And obviously you can be the beholder, and the art is in the eye of the beholder. Depends on what you feel, but I think that was a really good look. Lynchburg's always looking down the field as well. They're just a team that is quick in transition. They don't like holding it for long, and then when they get their offense set up, they can really be on your doorstep.
Well, and they're continuing to push and apply that pressure. They're not deviating from their identity here. We're getting some different legs in there, some different players. And that's always fun to see, but Lynchburg's going to keep that intensity up. I'm telling you, I mean, Coach Rafferty teams, they run, they play hard, they're intense. That's just going to be something you're going to come to expect from this Lynchburg team as this season progresses, but also just as long as Coach Rafferty is on Lakeside Drive.
It's easy to root for when you have a team that's going to go out and work hard. Here's Crawford downhill, loops the pass in. Bonds will just hold on. Here's EMU's offense trying to get set up. Crawford almost could have taken that coast to coast. A long shot fired as Corinne West will get her first save of the contest.
I don't mind that shot that I think came from Eve Detter. She had a pretty good look at it. Coming from the wing as a righty, that's not a bad look. But I'll be honest, if I was Amber Bonds, I probably would have gone ahead and pulled the trigger there from goal line extended.
Now Lynchburg on the other end. Morris sets it up. Lynchburg, it just feels like grows in numbers as the game goes on because they can wear you down, especially inside the 8, looking to constantly cut. But right now, just some passes, trying to keep it clinical. You want to make sure you stay true to those fundamentals. As this one does get away, Steinau will try to chase it down. It's going to find its way out. EMU will take over.
Reactionary there from Steinau. The passing lane one's kind of there, but you have those 2 sticks in the air. I think Steinau was a little worried she might get clonked over the head. Just kind of saw her be a little timid there and whiffed on the pass. She gets it right back.
There you go. Jenna Norco finds her first of the game. That was about as easy as it's going to get. Just lost it in a wrong position, and EMU troubling to get back as Lynchburg finds number 25.
How about a goal in 4 straight games? I believe Jenna Norco may have the longest goal streak on this team other than Sydney Dumas. It's her 8th of the season, up to 10 points, had a season high. And you mentioned Lauren Fling. She also had 3 points over the weekend at Randolph. And hey, by the way, also shooting a team high, 87.5% from the field coming into today's game.
Always helps when the opportunities you get, you don't miss them, especially in a role like Norco's where you're not going to have as many shot attempts as some of those starters. And so just making sure you capitalize, so crucial as we go back to the draw circle. Special day today. It's the second time it's happened this season at home, the Game Hair Havoc game. It's a fundraising campaign empowering athletes to style their hair for raising awareness and funds for families overcome with cancer. So a good cause. You'll see that throughout the season. Lynchburg obviously keeping all the causes on their mind, always fun. And then we know Code Red is coming up very soon.
Absolutely. I mean, tons of awesome causes. You know, women's basketball is always active with really, I mean, any good cause you can think of. It seems like they're active in the community as well. So women's lacrosse team, like you mentioned, men's lacrosse is going to have their One Love game next week. It's raising awareness for trying to end relationship abuse. So it's a phenomenal thing that they do every year. They're going to partner with SAC this year and try to really give that a lot of airtime. So awesome things that a lot of these teams are active in.
Bradley off 1 foot, doesn't get the shot to go, saved. And now Narciso can send it the other way. A little bit of pressure. Lauren Fling getting her stick up in the air. And there you go, turnover, Norco. In a good position, Dumas looking to slide it home, spinning and winning. Beautiful execution from Sydney Dumas. She makes those plays look so easy inside the 8.
Rock'em sock'em, Sydney Dumas. A little jab step to the left. Spin move to the right. Go ahead and fire it on in there. Sydney Dumas rocking and rolling early on. We're starting to hear that goal song a lot. It's going to be an earworm tonight while I'm trying to fall asleep, Evan.
Well, you know, that's never a bad sign. Hopefully you have a lot of songs stuck in your head by the end, because we've seen what Lynchburg has done from a depth standpoint. This is an EMU team. We don't want to make these numbers sound misrepresentative. They do have 13 players on the team. I believe 7 have gotten a goal this year. And so when you look up and down the roster, considering the offense, everybody has really contributed who is supposed to be in that role. But we know that things can start to heat up in a hurry. We'll have to see if it cracks outside their top 2, Crawford and Bonds. Lynchburg, maybe an unconventional model in that category too, because they don't really have, we know Sydney Dumas is leading in goals, but there's so many other contributors that you don't even really look at Dumas as that absolute standalone player up front.
Well, but give it up, Evan. 5 goals in the game. That's her 70th of an already illustrious career, just about a year and a half into it. She is the new king or queen of the household, we should say. Passes Leah with that last goal. And let's not forget Leah Dumas, an all-conference caliber player in her own right.
Well, she might try to pick up a few more, will Sydney, as this one slots home. Lynchburg still living and loving on Schellenberger Field. That was a good move to get into the net. Number 14, Jamie Thomas, makes it happen again. The second goal this season. The freshmen, we've talked about a few of the freshmen. We have Maya Hauser that we've talked about, but Jamie Thomas, the freshman from Howell, New Jersey, is getting some good time.
And I haven't seen Hauser today, but yeah, Fling got on the board with a goal earlier, one of those younger players. And then, yeah, you get the freshman, Jamie Thomas, goes out there and scores as well. And Jamie Thomas, it's been quite the stretch as of late. Last time she was on this field, first career goal. She follows that up again with a goal today. Then 5 ground balls and a caused turnover to her name in that 17-4 win over Randolph.
15-zip Lynchburg. Morris battling in the draw circle. EMU will corral this one. Here's Bonds. Sam, we know that obviously EMU has struggled with turnovers in this matchup, but from a possession standpoint, what do you think needs to change just to be able to elongate some of these opportunities?
Well, last time we saw this offense, they were able to get a shot off. So that's a checkbox there. Now can you extend those possessions, like you said, get multiple shots, try to stack them. A lot of that's ball placement, where you're taking your shots. But I don't think this is a team that needs to be that patient. You have a good look at the goal, fire it in there. It might not go in, but you got to put a little pressure on the Lynchburg goal. There you go. Boom. You have the opportunity, take it. EMU gets on the board.
There's the first one for the Royals. Alex Polizzi sends it home, the sophomore from Bealton, Virginia. And good spot to be in. The turnover on one side and conversion on the other as the Royals crack the scoreboard.
Well, and bonus points for 2 different categories. One, it comes off of a turnover. Your initial shot doesn't go in. You stop Lynchburg from clearing it, get another look at it. And then secondly, it's Alex Polizzi. It's not even one of those top 2 goal scorers in Bonds and Crawford, who have 27 of this team's goals. You get somebody else involved. I think that's a huge springboard for this Royals team.
We've seen this with Lynchburg throughout the year, and an interesting note is that when you have someone scoring at a high rate, you start the face guarding, you got to pay more attention. That just opens more doors, and you got to think that's why this bench has been so versatile, because some of those starters have crooked numbers, and we will see with EMU obviously having 13 on the roster, it's a little bit easier to limit some of those looks, but still always helps to get everybody off and firing as Lynchburg's Thomas looks inside, pass disrupted, intended for Morris. And here we go, EMU, another opportunity.
Well, and Evan, to your point too, you know, Crawford and Bonds, those top two scorers. I mean, you have Lynchburg has top scorers as well, but those two 61% of the offensive production for this EMU team, 35 points between the pair of them. So, yeah, I think your point's absolutely spot on. You got to find some way to ease some of the defensive pressure those two players are going to face. I mean, look at Crawford right there getting pushed all the way out to the end line. Lynchburg's not going to sag off on her.
Well, when you're having that level of production, too, it can be so frustrating because you're getting every team's best defenders. Those looks aren't easy. You're not going to get goals at a premium, although you do have the numbers to back it up. And so when you're playing these teams in the ODAC, the research has been done. We will see if the EMU duo can get the ball rolling. Crawford struggling.
It's Satterfield all over. All these Lynchburg players, they'll do it if you give them the chance. They'll put that pole right into your midsection and they'll just push. There's only, I mean, it's a certain, you can't extend obviously, but you get in the way, obstruct your vision, that they're going to make life difficult. So you got to work quickly. If you're EMU, you might not have the luxury of being super methodical on the offensive end.
That in and out production is something that obviously will favor teams that move quickly and efficiently, as the Hornets striking in the zip code again.
Man, why you got to go and say that, Evan? We got the Wendy's 4-for-4 game in softball the other day. Now you say in and out. We're only in the second quarter, and now I want a burger.
We're not doing any sponsors, by the way. We've said that throughout the season.
No free advertising.
That was just pure coincidence.
Well, it's a 4-for-4 stat line. You gotta take advantage, right?
That is true. How many times you see 4-for-4 too? That's not an easy number to get. Repetition is not easy in any game. How about that? Acrobatics. And now a chance to capitalize. It's up in the air. Who wants it? Finally, Hornets and Neely Morris can settle.
Pinball there.
Get the
like
vertical.
A jump ball.
Wow. Might have to bring the combine out here. We need one of those, a women's lacrosse combine to start the season. They did have their time trial in the snow, so we had a little bit of a combine. The bike was on the turf for some of the athletes that couldn't run that. They were making sure they were having their bases covered. Stein out, settling. We'll see if Lynchburg looks inside as Timberg was moving through. She had a good game, a hat trick against Randolph. This pass over. Steinow couldn't get it. EMU just trying to get off to the races. Finally finds the escape route.
I think McKenna Steinow was wanting a flag on that last one. Did catch a stick to the side, but credit to EMU sticking with that ball. It was a weird possession. They just continue to follow it, and then they forced the turnover.
And now maybe another chance for goal number 2. Royals have had opportunities. Here's Crawford, a little bit of space. Thought for a second she might fire. She does settle outside. We talked about it earlier about the patience. How much do you have in a spot like this?
And watch when Crawford gets it in a legitimate scoring position. Lynchburg, they'll send a double team. Megan Wheeler didn't get there in time before she passed it up, but she was coming to close off the passing lane.
Now Satterfield can send it out. Those numbers, especially in a game where, as we've talked about, the volume of scoring is really concentrated up front. You can afford to add some extra numbers. How about a little speed? Trying to get an injection. Lynchburg looks inside, whistle first. We'll wait and see. I think the Hornets are going to hold on to this one. And so Fling has it behind the goal. Opportunity now to set something up.
It looks like it'll actually be free possession, 8-meter here for Neely.
Yes, so Neely will just take it outside.
Not sure what awarded that 8-meter opportunity there. Obviously, Neely's going to be patient. Got 30 seconds here. Want to use them up, as much of them as possible, unless you get that great look if you're Lynchburg.
We try to diagnose as many of those plays as we can. We have our glasses on in the press box. We still struggle sometimes. Tell you who hasn't struggled. Lynchburg looking to find the net. punctuate. There you go, Neely Morris. Clinical stuff and a little bit of velocity, a little extra oomph in that one as Lynchburg can go to the locker room happy. 16 goals in this opening half. It was a special affair up and down the lineup. The Hornets looking ready to go.
How about this? 10 goals, 3 assists, a grand total of 13 points and 9 caused turnovers for Neely Morris in her last 3 halves of lacrosse on Schellenberger Field.
You don't see it very often. She's doing some special stuff, number 19. Lynchburg looking to keep it going. A 15-point lead going into the half. We're going to have some stats, analysis, and highlights on the other side. You are watching the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network.
Want to have some outdoor adventures while getting a degree at the same time? At the University of Lynchburg, we have an on-campus zip line and road course. Plus, we offer adventure trips that cost less than a cup of coffee. And did I mention our beautiful scenery? We're a university for students looking for something more than just books. Welcome to your new adventure experience.
I wanted to be a physical therapist probably starting about halfway through college. I love the concept that exercise is medicine. You know, we're starting to discover that exercise really can remedy many of the things that we thought that only surgery or only drugs could remedy in the past. When the student comes here, it's because we believe in them, it's because we want them here, it's because we believe they'll be successful. The faculty here are devoted to their development, not only academically but also professionally. We're not so inundated with things that we don't have time to make students one of our highest priorities. We have your back. We're gonna help you through that. If you're willing to work, then we're willing to put the work into it and the effort to help you succeed.
Hi, my name is Joshua Carr. I am a senior. I am a theater major as well as a history minor. I love the arts. I love acting. I love entertaining. I live in 5th Street, the historic black neighborhood. The money came in, transfer, scholarship, all that. I appreciate that greatly. I pay my own tuition. I ain't got no help. I pay everything myself. I mean, I'm smart too. So they gave it like, you smart, here. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that though. You come here to do a job. I came here to do a job. A student's job is to get that degree and make something of ourselves. We got everything for you. We got you a 24-hour library. You got these sorority fraternities. We got the shoot for you. Is you gonna put it on? That's how University of Lynchburg is. Success is in the details. You know what I'm saying? It's like you learn it, know better, do better. What I love is they allow us to speak. They want our voices to be heard. They want us to talk. They want us to bring up the discomfort. They respect our point of views. They respect Black Lives Matter. They respect the LGBT community. They respect those, you know what I'm saying? That's what I love about my school. They respect that and they allow us to showcase and voice our expressions. I love the diversity here. I love the different interests of people here. I can act, dance, sing, box, play football. I can do it all, you know what I'm saying? I can teach somebody that doesn't know what I know, and that person can teach me something that I don't know that they know. That's what you get here. You get diversity, you get different people with different knowledge coming together, sharing information and helping each other out. That's what I love. That's why I say people. I love the people here. College, think about it. If it's not for you, fall back. If it's for you, go further with it. And University of Lynchburg will be that choice. It's gonna be right there. They're gonna make the shoe. They're gonna do what it do. It's up for you to put that shoe on. So that's what I say.
Be ready for anything, okay?
Come on, let's go together. Together, let's go. Come on. Let's go, keep going.
Carry this to death to it. Straight? Straight up? Yep. Okay. Cool. Good one. All right, guys, you see the meat grinder down here? Stay in the boat. Let's go. Camera? Oh, what you think of that? Woo!
Welcome back here at Schellenberger Field. We are through the first 30 minutes, 30 on the way. Lynchburg leading EMU 16-1. Women's lacrosse action as we have had all season long. Schellenberger Field, despite having that one slip up versus Messiah, has treated the Hornets pretty well. We've had a lot of lopsided results one way or another, just looking to keep a clinical second half of lacrosse. And for an EMU squad with 13 players still coming out, competing hard, we've seen that all season. The narrative is going to be growth, trying to build a program and continue competing.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think last time out, Evan, there was a little something to build on. in that Ferrum game for EMU. They had season highs in shot percentage, had a season high in free position goals with 3, had season high in draw controls with 14. So I think you were hoping coming into this game that maybe that would be something that, you could really lean on today, find a little bit of momentum. Obviously, they did get that goal late in the second quarter to manage to get here on the board and challenge Lynchburg a little bit. They did get some pressure on the Hornets there late in the half, and we'll see if that continues in the second. Like we said, Evan, it's little victories, right? Just trying to rack up as much momentum as you can here in the second half.
Well, and momentum was really stolen early in this game, and Lynchburg has had games this season where that hasn't been the case. You think about that SVU game, it was a 4-1 lead early for the Knights. As you see on your screen, 3 of the contributors that Lynchburg has just continued to have at a high level this season. You know them. Dumas has been the head of that, who has just continued to execute, closing in on 100 points, as well as Steinow. You think about Steinow. She's been one of those players who has just really, I don't want to say operated in streaks, but when she has been on, she has been really hot on the scoreboard. And then Neely Morris, who's getting it done with a little bit of everything. We know she had 8 goals her last time out at Lynchburg. We'll have to see how much we get out of them in the second half. We know Coach Rafferty might keep them on the bench, but someone who will be in the game is Caleb Brady, that goalie we talked about coming over from the field hockey team. And really, experience like this where you have a whole half to play is going to be very good, very favorable for someone like Caleb Brady, who is just trying to get ready for the season and this postseason run that Lynchburg hopefully is looking to start.
Multi-game all-conference selection in her role as the field hockey goalie, had 2 saves and looks like she might be tested first things first in this third quarter. 2 saves against Bridgewater last week.
Here you go. First shot bounces away. Crawford had a good look at it, and it's really easy to tell what the huddle conversation was likely about. Coach Brooks probably saying, take a few shots. Don't be afraid to pull the trigger. Bonds and Crawford are very good when they can get going. 60% of this team's contributions from the goal tally.
Really interested, will be invested in the second half, watching the technique from Caleb Brady, obviously coming from that field hockey background. Yeah, it's hand-eye coordination, and a lot of that will translate, the reflexes. But from a technique perspective, we'll look to see what kind of growth we see from her today.
The thing that's interesting at this stage is that teams won't have a lot of scouting information on her. And obviously you're not going to know coming into this game unless you have some resources that she did play for that field hockey squad. And so it'll be interesting to see how that tunes up to be later in the season, when we know that Kayla Brady is going to be in some situations where she will be tested. But a lot of those low shots will be a vacuum in goal for Lynchburg as they set up the offense. 50 on the shot clock, still looking for that patient look. The Hornets throughout this game have just dominated in the possession category. You don't have an official stat, but you see 21 shots on the board. You know they're doing something right because 16 of them have gone in. Lynchburg gives this one away. Now EMU moving into their attacking side. We'll see that sense of urgency. What do they have on the table? And we know that Alex Polizzi, who scored the first goal for EMU, is likely trying to build some confidence as well. Still rolling.
See the game really just kind of slow down a little bit for both sides at this point. So Lynchburg take their time, bleed the clock a little bit on their last offensive possession, and now don't want to say make anything easy for EMU as Meredith Bornholt picks off that pass, her third caused turnover of the game, big-time game for her, but sagging off a little bit more on defense.
She can be a monster once she makes those moves going all the way. Now an opportunity far side as Timberg elects to just tail out. Bornholt had an extended run to make the pass, and when you get the lane, can't blame her. Good look. This bench is obviously one that can score at a high rate. You have a lot of underclassmen who are really looking to make moves, as Fling, who had her goal taken away earlier, is trying to make something happen. EMU will play that defense tight. They've just allowed too many isolation opportunities.
They kind of set up the perimeter here. Looks like they're actually in a little bit of a flex sort of man zone look.
Those unforced errors too, there's something where this is the half to experiment with it. You want to be able to make those passes confidently. In the big games, so many things to pay attention to from a coaching standpoint, but got to take care of the ball. We know that turnovers are a very crucial stat in this game, especially if you're just looking to use the shot clock because you get 90 seconds. That is a luxury to have, but obviously turnovers can end it prematurely.
Well, and that last little blurb there was just brutal because EMU does, Lynchburg sets up its offense. They bleed the clock again. EMU looks like they were going to get out of jail free. Then Lynchburg resets the shot clock. Neely Morris scores again. Make that 14 points now for that Lynchburg trio.
Neely Morris just makes lacrosse look so easy sometimes. She has been on a tear. Sophomore from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. First Flight High School.
You know how they call it that, Evan?
Let me hear.
Give you a Kitty Hawk fact. There's two very famous, we won't say natives of Kitty Hawk. They're natives of Ohio. Something very famous happened there in the Outer Banks, Kitty Hawk specifically.
Uh-oh.
Orville and Wilbur, First Flight.
Wow.
First Flight High School. Yep, that first flight, first expedition in the air. It's a museum and everything. Seen it with my own two eyes.
That's why we keep the North Carolina people on campus. We got to have that knowledge. The pipeline is strong. Listen, that might be one of the coolest high school names that we have seen, too, because I think someone out there is arguing, oh, that's not very creative, but I don't really think it has to be creative. It still sounds pretty cool.
Well, Evan, you and I are runners. They had a real good track and field cross-country program over there at First Flight. Seems like a lot of those beach-based high schools can have pretty good distance squads.
You don't have to run too many mountains. Don't get kids quitting as a freshman in high school. Might
well,
work out.
That, and you're certainly trained for the heat. I'll tell you what, man, running at the Outer Banks, that'll get you. It's not easy stuff there. It's a lot of flat, a lot of being able to see for miles in front of you.
Enjoy spring while you can because, folks, summer is knocking on the door. Kerner will go out to fling. Here's that inside pass, still looking. Contact, that one was pretty obvious.
Scoggin takes the brunt of that hit. Applied a little bit. Card's going to come out. Believe that's the first one against EMU today, and official goes right for the yellow there.
Taylor Parker will go to the penalty box. She is from Fluvanna High School. We're talking about the high school teammates with Shaylee Sims on this EMU squad. Same year, same high school, so we'll keep that conversation rolling. And now Scoggin, the North Carolina native, has an opportunity to slot one home.
Only the second free position opportunity of the day. Lynchburg was unable to cash in on the first. Again, an area that they've struggled a little more than they did last year. One of the few areas where that's been the case. See if Scoggin can get them rolling.
Oh, trying to slot the pass to Norco. She will just keep it out. That look, if Norco was maybe a step ahead, would have come to fruition. Second opportunity, Norco. Corrals will just keep the carousel rolling. How about that pass? It was a great look. Put it right in front, but Thomas can't connect.
And that's the thing as a defense that's so hard if you're not going to clog up that middle area is that Lynchburg will keep rotating those actions in. If they whiff on one pass, don't like the shot, somebody else will roll in. There's Scoggin wraps around, and EMU's able to disrupt it, knock the ball out of harm's way, but I guarantee you if Scoggin didn't fire that shot in, somebody else was going to wrap around and fill the void.
It's almost like a four-leaf clover. You just see these constant rotations still looking for the middle. Here come the Hornets again. That was a good look. It will go all the way back to Narciso. Another one of those opportunities. You can afford to be a little courageous in the second half. Try some of those because you know when you can get inventive now, there's certainly going to be an open window later in the season.
Look at Lynchburg. I mean, just all over the EMU Royals.
Here we go. Emma Timberg. 3 goals last game. Puts one on the board for Lynchburg. Believe it will be the first of the second half. No, second of the second half. Timberg has just continued to operate at a high level. One of those players last season did not start. She comes in this year heavily contributing, and the sophomore from Williamsburg just building confidence.
Timberg.
We were waiting.
Down goes the stick. I was waiting for that one. Every time she comes in the game. Shout out to Emma Timberg. Snags up the goal there. It's now 18 of 24 shots for Lynchburg. On pace right now for a season best in shot percentage. Season best by about a mile. Right now is last time we saw them, Evan. We're being spoiled here in these last two games to some high-quality shot making, because that previous season high did come against Bridgewater at 55%. My math's not the best, but I do know that they're over 50% right now, so we'll see how the last 21 minutes of this game pan out.
75 to be exact, and that is something where Lynchburg will build confidence, but it also goes back to possession stats, and we've seen a few moments early in the season where draw controls were the issue or the question mark. They have shored up any problems in that category, and they're going to have to carry it later in the conference slate. Opportunity behind the goal. Who else wants to be in the goal tally? Lynchburg is welcoming everyone, and this bench very deep, one of the deeper ones in Division III.
It was a good look there defensively from EMU. Now Lynchburg not necessarily probing in that middle area close to the goal, but tight defense was able to clog up any of those passing lanes before they even came open. Lynchburg just really didn't get a good look to feed it inside.
It's the chess moves. Can you be one ahead? Fleeing outside, up top. Contact. Pass goes in. Now Kerner. So clinical, this passing. They're not afraid to hold on to it until the last second. Wraparound shot somehow sneaks away. Might be a second chance opportunity. The scramble continues. Lynchburg will just find a way to hold on. Norco now behind the goal.
This is that point, though, Evan, where it starts to feel like Lynchburg's got about 10 offensive players rather than just 7, because almost, earlier in the shot clock, there might be a little bit of stagnancy, but when that shot clock starts to go down, everybody's moving.
Here comes Fling playing through contact, whistle first. Lauren Fling is just trying to get a goal, and it seems like everything in nature is trying to keep her off, but she will have an opportunity now. Free position shot. We'll see what the approach looks like. Number 11.
47% on the year is Lynchburg, 0% today, and that is going to continue. So you want to find a bright spot on the defensive side in particular for EMU. That's your spot. On the season, they've held opponents to 50% on the 8-meter, and obviously a good bit below that right now. 0 of 3 is Lynchburg.
Interesting enough, too, it seems like no two approaches have been the same for Lynchburg. We'll see a lot of times where they just tail out and reset. Fling just had a laser that didn't connect, and now EMU trying to find the back door. Here they go. Polizzi with space, trying to get Lynchburg on their heels.
And again, if it's me, you just want to try to create that downhill opportunity. That was a relatively favorable situation there for the offense. You got to work quick. I think you drop back into this half-court offense of sorts. I don't know if that favors your offense against this Lynchburg defense, especially the way things have gone today. So, we'll see. Try to set up a quality opportunity.
Will you re-engage Satterfield and Bornholt, too, in those situations? We know they're normally the first ones back, but you do want to have that transition where you're at least getting your opponent rattled, not trying to run into the brick wall. EMU does have an opportunity still. Possessing inside the 8.
We'll note Alexis Pauly there guarding the X right now. Finally made her first career appearance at Randolph, scooped up a ground ball. Buena Vista, Virginia native.
The freshman, too. Big-time stuff. Always cool to see these debuts. This pass rattles through. Lynchburg can put some pressure up front. Here's Heffernan.
Mentioned Lynchburg sometimes feels like they have more than just those 7 players on the offensive end. On defense, you get to see that depth sometimes. Heffernan, not somebody who starts for this team, but has been a disruptor early on in the year. Lynchburg's got a few of those players that they might start out on the bench, but when their number's called, they're ready to make an impact.
It's the best thing a coach can ask for as Kerner gets downhill. Opportunity for Scoggin. See, Lynchburg, when they have slowed down, has almost been better because they have just found ways to get those one-on-one matchups. Transition, sometimes you attract 2 or 3 defenders right away. Everybody on this team operates a little bit differently. Window Dumas is really the queen of isolation when you're looking at some of those plays, how she gets her goals.
Then, of course, the two interesting parts of that is, one, she leads this team in assists, so she's not afraid to get the offense going in that respect either. But then the second piece is as the primary ball handler, and I think this is a spot where she's really grown this year, Evan. You know, she has the ball in her stick more than really any other player does, maybe even more than she did last year. She's asked to do a lot, and she does lead this team in turnovers, as you would expect, but only 13 through 8 games. That's down almost a full turnover per game from where she was at last year, so somebody you can trust with the ball in their stick too. Numbers
from last year to this year, we talked about it. How different can you make them? And you hope it's a positive progression, but we have just seen Sydney Dumas continue to operate. 41 goals last season too. Coming into today, had 24. And so obviously that's a category it's pretty easy to monitor, but just a product of everything else going right on the field.
Another 5-goal game today for her career. If we don't see her again, it was another one to remember. It seems like she's just even better when she's at home, but certainly good everywhere. Led the team in scoring. If it holds, this will be the 4th time this season. Will be a season high in points for her this year. Previous was 4. Came against that tight loss to Meredith, the one tight game of this season.
It's interesting, too. You don't want it to leave a bitter taste in your mouth because that is that close game, and you're like, well, that's the one chance we had to kind of win a 50-50. But I think Lynchburg and the coaching staff as well will agree that that was not their best lacrosse that day. Coming into that contest as Jenna Norco knocks one home, number 19, as the clock rolls on. But I'll tell you one thing. Lynchburg is a very different team from when they played Meredith just a few ago. They're continuing to operate at a high level.
Well, in Lynchburg, obviously we've seen 19 goals today. They're going to throw a lot of different looks at you on the offensive side and what they're testing Narciso with in the goal. We've seen a couple of the bounce shots now. I think it was the Southern Virginia game. We saw Lynchburg go to that shot a lot. Use the ground to your advantage. Make the goalie try to guess and anticipate where that ball is going to come up off the turf. It just adds a little bit of a wrinkle, and you can do it effectively.
Tell you one thing, the Hornets' approach has been effective. They have 19 now, still looking locked and loaded. We're going to head to the break. 15 more minutes, and the 4th quarter on the other side, right here from Schellenberger Field. Lynchburg up big.
Get your career in the game by enrolling in the University of Lynchburg MBA program with an emphasis in sport management. This program opens the doors to new possibilities for a variety of careers, from being an athletic director or working in athletic administration to working for professional organizations, your favorite team, to running a local Parks and Rec department. And employers are increasingly requesting and preferring individuals who have postgraduate education, specifically looking for an MBA. And so the University of Lynchburg Sport Management concentration in the MBA program sets you up for success, and it sets you apart from the many other people looking for jobs in the industry. Learn from winners. Here you will learn from professors and mentors who have spent their careers doing exactly what you want to do. Increase your marketability in an $83 billion industry. If you have a 3.0 GPA, the GMAT is waived. There's no application fee, admissions occurs on a rolling basis, and our online program is ideal for working adults. When you enroll in this program, you enroll in the opportunity to learn from the best of the best. Your professors have a wealth of experience working in the sport industry that they share with you in the classroom setting. Get in the game by getting your MBA with a sport management concentration at the University of Lynchburg. Just you know, Hollywood, here I come. Hey, I meant, yeah.
The real Lindsay Piper's here.
Autographs there later. Let's.
Final quarter of action on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Lynchburg leads 19-1 over EMU, and This has just been a game that from the start they've set the tone. They have been clinical in their approach. We're going to have a fun final quarter. The Hornets have just continued to show its depth, to show the rotation that is capable of scoring. You have to think that after a game where 7 have 3 or more points, that they can get it done all around.
Yeah, Lynchburg, we're going to be watching a couple numbers here through this fourth quarter. Current season high for goals is 20. That was against Southern Virginia. They've hit 19 a number of occasions. We know Lynchburg, when they get to 12 at least, probably not going to lose, and they have certainly cleared that barrier here today. But the shots have been online too. Shot percentage is trending towards a season best. And then we'll watch out for points as well, because Lynchburg has been relatively active in the assist column.
It's what you want, just a complete effort, not limiting what you're doing to just shots. We've seen a few from way downtown that Lynchburg has converted on this season, but today has been a lot of quick stuff. Those passes and cutters have just been very smooth.
Well, there's no need to show off or make anything harder than it needs to be. If the lanes are open and close, and credit to EMU clogging those lanes up a little bit late in that third quarter. But more often than not, Lynchburg's been able to exploit that weak spot in the field. That's exactly where they want to get. That's where any lacrosse team wants to get, because that's where the high percentage looks are.
Not hard to calculate that you're going to score a lot more inside the 8. Hornets on the doorstep again behind the goal. Seen a few of these long passes and still attracting a lot of attention up front. Steinow gets this one inside. Now Scoggin, shot saved. That was really like a 12-6 type of save. Stick went straight down.
Extra points for the dive there for Scoggin. We'll give a little credit for that. But yeah, good, great save. We've seen a couple good saves today in some sticky situations from Narciso. Again, like we've said, we know she's capable. It's always interesting sometimes you look at some of the goalkeeper stats and you got to look at the right ones, right? Sometimes it might jump out like, oh, the goal against average is high, but goal against average, that's really more of a defensive stat. Obviously the goalkeeper's the anchor. A lot of the responsibility does fall on their shoulders at the end of the day. I get that, and you are directly responsible for protecting the net, but that's why, sometimes save percentage or the number of saves that a goalkeeper has made are just as important.
Absolutely agree. It's just like in baseball, ERA, that's something that goes on everybody. Obviously, some people have more of an influence than others. This one bounces out. Lynchburg looking to get it out again, just send the Hail Mary pass, and here comes Steinow. Numbers for Lynchburg. We'll see if they elect the transition or just to pass it around. Steinow will slow it down.
And interesting enough, we've seen quite a few turnovers today that Lynchburg's forced or just been able to capitalize on. Not a lot of opportunities today where they've really gotten out in transition. And I think you talk about spots where Lynchburg can maybe unlock new levels to this offense. The assist piece is a big thing, I think, being able to share the ball effectively. But this is a team that I know in Lynchburg, when they're able to create those opportunities in the fast break, in transition, they are really good. It's just maybe starting to create more of those opportunities and leaning into them when maybe even they're not readily apparent.
Also, just got to work on that read and react type of offense. And we have seen any team on any sport have to get that down. But lacrosse is so important because you are relying on timing more often than not, especially some of those passes inside. Lynchburg's offense early in the season will at least revolve around a lot of set looks. You're not letting your players just go out on the go, but you do have variation within those plays. Shot clock winding down. It's at 12. Steinow, pass outside, Kerner. Can hear the chorus of numbers going down. Fling fires home. There you go, 20, folks. Lauren Fling puts a missile in the net.
That one will tie a season high.
Lynchburg, score by number 11.
Lynchburg, they have known how to flat out score at home. I don't think we've even mentioned the scoring differential coming into this game. I believe it was at plus 38. And Evan, you and I were talking last game when it was plus 25 for a Lynchburg team that was at that point 4-3 following that Bridgewater game. That's just not something you see every day. For a team to have that big of an advantage over its opponents on the year and be just one game above 500, now I think it's starting to materialize a little bit more. Lynchburg, got 11 minutes to go here with the 20-1 advantage. Going to improve to be 6-3 on the season. It'll be 3-0 in the conference. And, I mean, it's obviously huge to get out to a good start in the season overall, but I don't think it can be understated how important it is to get out to a good start in the conference. Second straight season that Lynchburg started 2-0 within the ODAC, but this will be, you'd have to go all the way back to 2012 when Lynchburg started 4-0 to find the last time that they rattled off 3 to open the ODAC slate.
Wow, and last season overall record goes straight to 0-4 before beating Lebanon Valley, and so the tides have turned. We know Coach Rafferty isn't too familiar with that scene from last year, and I don't think she wants to be when you look at the front half. It wasn't that last year's team was bad. They still had a very solid season before falling to Randolph-Macon in the conference tournament, but we obviously understand the momentum they are building, culture continuing to formulate, and now Lynchburg just has to be feeling good going into the next matchup at Guilford on Saturday.
Well, and I think sometimes when you see a team see that kind of improvement numbers-wise, you might go to trying to find reasons why. And I think a lot of people might think, oh, the schedule, maybe the scheduling was easier. But, I mean, you look at this Lynchburg non-conference slate still challenging themselves, and a team that regularly finds itself in the postseason in Mary Washington, a Messiah team that is incredibly talented. And then some more, local, closer to home teams, Southern Virginia, Meredith from North Carolina, Meredith, a very formidable team out of the USA South. So I still think this Lynchburg team did really challenge itself in the non-conference. And even some of those games that they wound up losing, you still learn a lot about your team. I especially think of that Meredith game. You lose that game by 2, a road test against a good team, a team probably pretty similar to you. I think that still builds a lot of character.
It's really easy to just figure out what you're looking at, the full picture, when you have a team like that. It's pretty much a mirror at that point, and seeing, okay, well, they do this well. And you don't want to monitor or compare playing styles because everybody's going to have their own taste, but we do know that Lynchburg uses teams like that, especially in the ODAC. That's why some of those losses can be so tough to overcome. They're hoping that they don't drop many of those this season. The ODAC slate just starting to heat up. So EMU after this game, we mentioned Lynchburg going down to Carolina on Saturday to play at Guilford, the first of a two-game trip on the road. EMU will be playing at home versus Sweetbriar on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Also at home versus Trinity Washington on Tuesday, so 2 at home.
Obviously, you get into this back half of the schedule, most of the time that's when it really does get real. Obviously, it's not that the games in the non-conference aren't hard, but you have those more direct implications. Conference standings start to matter. Obviously, the W&L game already out of the way for EMU this year, and they do not have Roanoke on the schedule. Roanoke always a really talented team as well, but for Lynchburg, I mean, you want to talk about getting real. Out Roanoke, home game against Randolph-Macon that's going to have some extra flavor to it. CNU, they will play at home. At Washington and Lee, there's going to be some tough ones here down the stretch for this Lynchburg team.
And if you're a good competitor, you want those games. I think a lot of players on this Lynchburg team are just eager to go back up and have some of those matchups that you see year to year, but it looks so different. And we know Washington and Lee is still solid at the top of the conference, but as we said, that measuring stick sometimes gives you a pretty good picture of what to start improving.
And you find out how many of those can you steal. Those are all games that Lynchburg's probably at least a slight underdog in. So, can you steal a few of those? And you got quite a few on the road. I think Roanoke and W&L being on the road is a tough look. Obviously, they were both at home last year. It always evens out. But, Lynchburg in the first quarter of that W&L game last year did give the Generals a little bit of a run for their money. So, you just build on that. Try to find little areas where maybe you can exploit one of the best teams in the country. And you say solid at the top of the ODAC. That's probably putting it lightly. I mean, this is, just domination for W&L in this conference. So unseating the Generals is really the goal and the dream of any team within this conference. But Washington and Lee has just not given up that throne or really even hinted at it over the last decade plus.
perennial powerhouse, first in the conference with 23 ODAC titles. They have dropped just one ODAC championship since 2003. Make that the 09 game versus Roanoke. Every single other one has gone to the Generals. Don't think that they have any plans otherwise in this 2024 campaign.
It's just hard to even conceptualize dominance like that, not over a given season, but over that long of a span. I mean, you say 2003, that's 21 years. I thought my car was a little older, but that's quite a few years older than even my car, which is still running very nicely, I'll add. But, I mean, you think, I don't know, maybe North Carolina field hockey maybe comes to mind. That's certainly a dynasty, but even like an Alabama football, I mean, to be that good for 21 years is just incredible.
We know that in the landscape of sports, it's easy to throw around that term, too, because dynasty is obviously something that every team strives to have, but very few actually accomplish. And these sports where you see some teams that are either growing or developing might be a little more common. We know lacrosse is on the rise in America, and obviously at the collegiate level, we understand that there are going to be more programs coming up. But goodness, the ODAC has just really struggled to find a formula for WNL because they just continue bringing in those top quality recruits.
Now for Lynchburg, both teams trading possessions a little bit here. We've had 42 turnovers in this game. That last one from EMU was the 27th, and of course Lynchburg gave it over on the shot clock violation. That was their 15th. So turnovers up a little bit from the season average for both of these teams. There might be a tendency to call that a sloppy game. I don't know if I would go that far. I think both teams just really trying to badger the other.
Can be a result of just taking chances too. And we've seen a few of these passes for Lynchburg that aren't exactly what you would say is within this common playing style. A lot of long passes, and now the offense just trying to catch EMU napping. Maybe some backdoor cuts. So on that last play, they just elected to let the clock run out. 20, the highest goal tally this season. Did it against, I believe, SVU. We'll have to go back. There have been so many games where it's been 19 or 20. We might have to get our research out for the season. It's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, 20 against Southern Virginia. That is the benchmark for the team this year. But you go down the line here for Lynchburg. I mean, it was 16 against Methodist, 20 against Southern Virginia, 19 against Piedmont, 19 against Bridgewater, 17 at Randolph, and then now I would say it looks like it might wind up right here at 20 for today's game. Not much urgency at this point from Lynchburg. 20-1 advantage on the scoreboard, 33-3 on the little board. That's what I'm going to start. I think that's going to be my new go-to for the shots. The little board.
The little board. I like it.
They're important. They're on the board, but obviously secondary to the goal tally.
We'll just have to keep innovating throughout this lacrosse season too, because it's a sport that does have a fair share of numbers.
I mean, there's just a few things that I find myself wanting to do watching some of these games, Evan. We got our notes here. Every time I see them, throw down their stick after a goal, I know why they do it. They got to drop it so that the official can inspect it, but it always just makes me want to throw down my papers.
See, but then it's just
seems cathartic.
It's awkward picking it back up. We want to make sure that you guys can still hear us at full capacity. And if you do it 20 times like Lynchburg has done it, we might have some audio problems. This is a Hornets squad who has not conceded a losing streak this season. So every time that they have lost, they have come back with a win. EMU is now going to be on a 7-game losing streak after this contest. But again, you still look at the ODAC slate. You just got to move forward one game at a time. A lot of credit to Coach Brooks and the squad just for continuing to build. And obviously Lynchburg is in a position where they have had some really solid recruits for a very long amount of time. See the sophomore class, and EMU just obviously in store to get some of those. You think about the founding class of a team like that too. It's just so cool to be in the history books, be able to really set the table for the years to come.
I love that point you made a couple moments ago, Evan, talking about no losing streaks this year for Lynchburg. That's something that I followed during the men's basketball season. I think record coming off of a loss, I think that really is one of the best ways to track a team's improvement, especially in maturity, confidence, just how cohesive a team is. So yeah, Lynchburg on the year they're going to improve. Well, obviously this is not coming off of a loss, but on the year 3-0 coming off of those losses, that's huge. I think first and foremost, just for confidence. When you don't stack those losses, I think you really do start to believe in yourself a lot. I think the wins just come a little more naturally.
Can be so easy to almost lose an entire season because of one streak at the wrong time. You see that across collegiate sports, but lacrosse is a game that doesn't have a lot of games on the schedule. I mean, compared to some of the spring sports like baseball and softball who are playing 40, so you got to make sure momentum happens at the right time.
Yeah, and I even look at like an EMU. They got off to a great start, a 6-goal win to open up the year, and then you lose a heartbreaker by 1 goal to Brevard, and on the road at that. And then obviously you have WNL. That's a really tough matchup, as we already talked at length about. But then, then it starts to wear on you, and you see some games where you feel like EMU might be a little closer in, that they're not as close in. Gave Ferrum a little bit of a fight over the weekend, did get back up to that 8-goal total. But like you said, it can spiral if you're not careful. And this is a young EMU team. They're early in this process. They'll get there. They'll certainly get there. But I think that is one of the good indicators of a cohesive team.
There's a shot that will go off the mark as the seconds expire. This game will be over at 20-1, barring any last-second extracurriculars. Lynchburg gets a good win to continue the momentum. They have worked at a very high rate this season, and you think about what they're trying to build in confidence and momentum. Well, listen, it is still really early/middle of the season, so you know that there is still time to operate some tough opponents on the schedule.
Lynchburg, with this win, they do open up the back 9. More realistically, it's the back 8 in a 16-game slate. But Lynchburg, there you go, 9 games in, 6-3. You talk about the turnaround from last year, 2-6 through 8 games. This year, 5-3, and they tack on another win. First time getting out to that 3-0 start in the conference slate since 2012. They're set up for success. Now it's just, what can you do with it? How much can you build on it? How many wins can you pick up down the stretch?
So much to uncover. There were 8 ODAC teams in action today, but just 2 ODAC matchups. This is one of them, and it has gone final from Schellenberger Field, 20-1 in favor of Lynchburg. Don't forget, all the spring sports action can be caught right here on LHSN. A lot of it to go, and we know this lacrosse team will be back at home. This is a season that is really shaping up to be a good one. The next time they are at home, folks, it's Code Red time. Sunday, April 7th versus Randolph-Macon at 1 p.m. But a few games in Guilford and Roanoke before we get there, and we've had a lot of fun in this contest. So on behalf of Sam Graham and the entire LHSN crew, I'm Evan Gates saying so long from the Hill City.